Hello and welcome to Greater Good Entrepreneur. We've got something really special for you today. Solene Pignet of Creators for Good is joining us from Istanbul. I brought Solene on the show because she wrote a great blog post. I don't know, it was probably 2 or 3 months ago, and it stuck with me. And I remembered I kept on going back to it because the information in it wasn't just good information from a strategy perspective, but it brought together how conscious entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurs can sometimes sabotage ourselves. And this is usually one of our biggest problems. So we spend a lot of time on this show talking to people that have had successes. But what we rarely get to is for people that are just starting out. What are the things that stop us? What are the things that sabotage ourselves? So I'm going to turn to Solene, and we're going to get going now on her blog post, 23 questions we need to ask ourselves to have a consistent business model. Actually, that is not the title of the blog post, but we'll get to that. Anyhow, Solene, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing very good. Thank you so much for inviting me into the show.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. I know we're in very different time zones. You're in Istanbul. What time is it there?
So it's almost 6 p.m. for me, and it must be the middle of the morning for you in the US, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. It's reasonably mid morning. Yes, it's just one long day right now. But the name of your blog, the title of your blog post, tell it to me again, please.
So it's 23 questions to ask yourself if you're not generating enough money for or with your social enterprise.
23 questions to ask yourself if you're not generating enough money in your social enterprise. Rolls right off the tongue. So before we get into the ways that people can appropriately make sure they've got good business models, essentially what this is really about. Tell us how we ended up here. You're a trainer, I guess, of social entrepreneurs. You help early stage businesses. Can you give us just a little bit of background before we get into it of who you are and why you're able to tell us these things?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I'm a strategy consultant for social entrepreneurs. I help individuals who escape from the corporate world to start their own social enterprise. And I help them with one, defining their idea, validating their business model, two, reaching financial sustainability once they have launched. And a third thing I help with is scaling the impact for those who have already started, already reached financial sustainability and want to have a big impact in the world. And I've been doing that for a little bit more than 2 years now. You want me to tell now what brought me to create Creators for Good and to do that job?
Well,
Right?
I am wondering actually if you're helping right now, essentially some use the term social entrepreneurs. First of all, that's a really loaded term, social entrepreneur, and what that really is. So, yeah, what is it that got you here? Were you in an organization that you saw not working correctly? Give us a little bit of your story of how you ended up here.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I always knew I wanted to have a positive impact with my work. I actually volunteered for a couple of nonprofit organizations when I was still a student, and I really loved how fulfilling it is, right, to work and have a positive impact. But I also saw the limit of the nonprofit world. Because you're always relying on grants and governments will to subsidize your impact. And so back when I was in business school, there was very new master's degree on sustainable development and most precisely CSR. And so I thought, great, I could have an impact by working in a corporate company and help them with their CSR. So that's what I graduated from, and then I worked for a couple of years for a British company actually that does macroeconomic research on emerging markets. So that's when I started to live outside of France, my home country. And I was based in different parts of the world, mostly emerging markets. And I thought that from the inside I could change how things are going, but the truth is, what I realized is that CSR or impact was always going to come second, and money was always going to be first, especially when the very top of the organization are, doing CSR for advertising or promotion or marketing purposes. So I actually did a small burnout inside my corporate job, because I was really torn between what I really wanted to do with my life and what I was actually doing, which was business development. So I was setting up partnerships for the company with governments or foreign investors, and I was helping my company make a lot of money. In 3 years, I reached 500,000 British pounds with my own, my
Right.
own work. And so I
Uh-huh.
was like, if I can do that for them, for investors I've never met in my life, I didn't even know the name of the people I was making rich. Maybe I should do that for other
Right.
people. And this is when I entered the social enterprise world, thinking I could bring my business development skills to social entrepreneurs. So initially that was the idea, but as every entrepreneur, you start with what you think you can do, and then you end up doing something slightly different. So now, this is still what I'm doing, but the heart of my business is to help people transition from corporate world to entrepreneurship, because this is what I did for myself. And when clients come to me, they see, oh, you have managed to, transform your old job into something positive. I'm in this field. What could I do? And this is, what I
Right.
help them doing.
Cool. That's pretty amazing. It's great that you've been able to make that transition. So it sounds like your focus is on people creating for-profit businesses that have a social mission, or will you work with people that are also creating nonprofits? Because I know that can be a confusing thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, actually, I think one of the reasons why it's confusing is because depending on the countries, the culture, the word social enterprise has different meanings. So I don't consider, I work with social businesses, so people who are for impact with profit, as I like to call them. You can call them for profit if you like.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I don't work with non-profits, simply because I don't know how to, make it both impactful and financially sustainable when you're a non-profit. I'm sure there are people who know and that are very good at that. That's just not my specialty.
Okay, cool. Well, you're right. And I think one of the difficult things is, at least in the United States, we are just now developing a language for what is an organization that both is not a nonprofit, but is self-sustainable and has a social mission. I mean, there still is not really language for it. We've got a few terms right now. In the United States we call them B corporations and L3Cs, and really it's as much about tax law as anything else. And I don't want to get off on that sidetrack, but the I think in the Western civilization there's really still not good terminology for this. I don't know if you've got anything better where you are, but
No, not really.
okay.
Yeah, depending on the countries, and I'm based in Turkey, but because of my very poor Turkish language level, I don't consult locally at all. I have few foreign clients here, but I do my work mostly via the internet, and
Wow.
so I deal with people from many different regions. I guess all would consider themselves as change makers or impact entrepreneurs. Maybe that's more appropriate words. But then I think, I don't want to get sidetracked into that topic as well.
I know.
But I definitely don't work with for-profit startups that are using social components as a way to, get investors on board or, win such or such competition. But at heart, they just want to, make a lot of money and then sell the company and retire on an island. That's not my ideal crowd at all either.
Okay.
So there's both sides of the spectrum, I guess.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to switch over here. I want to talk for just a second, actually, about your blog post. 23 questions to ask yourself if you're not generating enough money with your social enterprise. So this is really about what do we want to be thinking about if we're not generating, as you say, enough money. What was the impetus for creating this?
Yeah, so basically, as I mentioned before, I consult with individuals who are creating their own social enterprise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of the clients that I take care of or that I consult with, I also offer 5 free strategy sessions every month, and that's a way for me to have a bigger impact than just the few clients I deal with, and also to meet different people, different perspectives, and help them out. And one of the biggest questions people come with in those free strategy sessions is they don't say I want to make money, because money is a is a big word. Like they don't want to say that, but usually they say I want to reach financial sustainability, or I want my business to be able to sustain itself. Basically they want the financial sustainability and they don't really know how. And I realized during those conversations that actually the reason why they are not reaching financial sustainability are much more simple than what one can imagine. And that's why I summarized basically the key questions you can ask yourself if that's your case, if you want financial sustainability but you're not there yet, because chances are the answer is not as complicated as you might think.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing here is your clients come to you and say in these initial strategy sessions, they want to do something good for the world, but they also want some financial sustainability. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, absolutely.
And at least you tell me if you agree with this. At least in my experience in dealing with similar people is there's usually a much bigger conflict in the mind, and that actually can be, not always, but certainly can be one of the things that causes the problem of actually getting to financial. Really, people's relationship with money. We've either been taught that it's a bad thing to have a lot of money, that being rich equals being bad, and I mean the stuff can just pile on like crazy. Is this something that you've seen as well?
Definitely. I think that's one of the big difference between social entrepreneurs and traditional entrepreneurs. Social entrepreneurs are like generally individuals that are not motivated by money itself. They maybe have had good corporate jobs where they had a lot of money but were feeling unfulfilled, and so they become social entrepreneurs because they know that what motivates them or drives them is the impact that they can have, not the money or the island retirement they can get.
Right.
So just that fact shows that there is a different mindset between why they are in business and how they do it. And I strongly believe, and that's basically why I also wrote that blog post, is that many people think it's harder to make money as a social enterprise or social entrepreneur I don't believe so.
Okay.
I think, when you're unless you're a company that's a for-profit company that is I don't know, hiring children and not paying them, and okay, yeah, they make more money than a social enterprise.
Right.
But I mean, and like, unless you compare yourself with those,
Right.
for impact enterprise and a for-profit enterprise have the exact same chances of generating profits. It's just that when it's not your main motivation, you tend to have a set of beliefs, strategies, and actions that don't lead you to generate enough money.
Okay. Um, so actually, what I'm going to do right now is bring up on the screen. So on the screen, we've actually got the blog post, and this is at creatorsforgood.com. So if anybody wants to go and actually read the full blog post, they can do that on creatorsforgood.com. Let me get the right place on the screen here. They can do that at creatorsforgood.com. It's in the blogs, and we can see 23 questions to ask yourself. And a lot of the things that we have here, I'm just going to move you into the right place. A lot of the things that we have here, many of them are some of them are actually personal. Do you need to do this, right? Do you actually need to generate revenue, or are you going to do this on the side? Maybe you have another way of making money, so you're not worried about that. Do you plan on reinvesting the money, or do you plan on just putting it back to services? And then there's some questions about your belief systems. And I've put together this little graphic here just so that the group can understand it, the viewers, and really what I saw in this was it came down to a few different things. And one of the things that I think is important is the first three really are based on personal needs. Do you actually need to make money, really, is the first question. And not everybody does, right? Not everybody needs to make money from their enterprise. So there are some real individual questions that I think we need to ask ourselves as we start building our enterprise. And I put that under personal here. So if we sort of go back and look at it, let's see what the top three are, because I've got them as numbers 1, 2, and 3. Right? Do you want to generate revenue? Do you need to generate revenue? And how much do you actually need to make to have yourself live? So are these some of the first things that you start with in your sessions? It actually seems like these are the most basic questions. And do you find that people come to you and haven't really thought of these yet? I mean, how do we even get to these? At some level, I feel like, how much money do I need to make is a really basic question. But I'm guessing if you need to put it here, people aren't coming to you and necessarily thinking of this as the first thing that they're thinking about.
Yeah, what I realize is, so many people who need to make money out of their social enterprise, they will phrase it as, I need to make a living, out of my work. And when I ask how much exactly, they don't know. They don't know the figure. They don't have anything in mind. And they would say, oh, I don't know exactly. I mean, it doesn't really matter as long as, and then they will give you a very small, like minimal target or goal. And usually I point that out as like one very first action everybody has to do when it comes to generating an income out of an enterprise is, if you don't know your target, if you don't know the goal or where you're going, how can you even think that you can get there? It's not something that will happen eventually. It's something that you have to plan for and be strategic about. And that's actually what I tell in the introduction of the article. I started my business and now it's financially sustainable, but it didn't happen to me like out of the blue. I really worked on that and I made it happen for myself and for my business. And you have to do that on purpose. It's not something that's gonna happen eventually. So having a clear goal for your personal salary is one example that most of the people who don't make a living out of their social enterprise have.
So, so it sounds like you have to be a bit of a psychologist as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's really psychology, but I like to call myself a mentor. I'm mentoring my clients because I've been through the steps, right? I also started thinking like, well, it will happen eventually, and I don't care. All I want is to have an impact. Yes, okay, but after 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, like how your motivation and is going to look like. So at some point you have to wake up and do something about your goals and be precise about them if you want them to happen.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. And then it's really interesting as I'm kind of because what I did I've now got kind of the graphic up on the screen, and it looks like somewhat you then moved into kind of the strategy of how to get there, because I noticed that what I call kind of really personal things, which is what do I actually need to make, forgetting about my beliefs, which are more deep down, which I'll get to in a moment. Then we start to get into some things about how do I actually make that money and how much does it need to be, right? Questions 4, 5, 6 at least, and 11. Let me go back to the article. Now we start getting into how much do you need to invest. And I like number 5. Have you ever calculated how much money it costs you every time a new client buys one of your products? And you've got it at variable cost. You've put the term variable cost in there. But another term for that we use is client acquisition, right? How much does it cost us to get a new client? And these are things that even experienced business owners often have no idea what their cost is to get a new client. What kind of reaction do you get when you start? If you're working with early stage entrepreneurs, do they even have a baseline for this, or is your goal with these questions just to get them thinking in this direction so that they can start creating a strategy?
Yeah, actually, I'm asking those questions just to see how clear they are, because one of the very first steps is clarity. And same goes with accounting. All those are, accounting terms, fixed costs, variable costs, client acquisition, investment, and so on. And what I noticed is that maybe I would say roughly 80% of the entrepreneurs who have not reached financial sustainability have very fuzzy accounting. They never look at the numbers because they just don't want to deal with it. And then that number I'm sure about 100% of the social entrepreneurs that have reached financial sustainability and or that are making a living out of their business have a very clear accounting system. Like it's not possible to make money out of your social business if you don't have clear spreadsheets or an accounting system in place. If you're not clear about your costs, your revenue needs, and your investment plans, that's just impossible. And yet it's something that people don't want to deal with, and then they come to me saying that they want to reach financial sustainability. So one part of my job is to point them in the direction of clarity when it comes to accounting, and being clear about those numbers is so important. It's the first step.
So I just want to make sure I heard that correctly. So what you said is 80% or more, if I heard it correctly, of the people that are not reaching financial sustainability don't have a good understanding of just the pure accounting of their business. How much it costs for the things they're selling, how much it costs to acquire a customer, and just the cost of producing and selling. 80% or more of the people that don't reach financial sustainability or don't make it, essentially. 80% of the people or more that don't make it don't understand their accounting. 100% of the people that do make it do understand their accounting. So,
exactly.
Okay. So I'd say the big message there is you have to understand your money. I'm sorry?
Sorry, yeah, I was saying the 20% gap is the people who are on the way
Oh, right.
from
Okay, well that's good.
from the
Oh, right,
maths to
because
the
there
cloud
can be a
businesses.
transition, right? Huh. That's really a great way to think of that. Yeah, there's that gap is the people that are going from not understanding accounting to understanding accounting. Because that seems like that's the critical success factor. Understanding your numbers. Huge. Huge information there. Okay. So then, right, we went into strategy, and then all of a sudden we come back to number 7, and it starts getting into belief systems. And really, these are kind of, to me, the psychological thing. This is the one thing. It almost seems like if I'm talking to someone that doesn't want to deal with the numbers, much of the time it gets down to number 7 and 8 and 9, right? Do you believe making money is important for your social impact? Do you believe that you need to earn a salary out of your social enterprise? Like, do you think that's ethical? I know plenty of people that have a real problem with the ethics of actually making a comfortable living. And it causes a huge problem in their ability to actually build a decent business. As a matter of fact, one time I was being interviewed. I had started a social enterprise, and it was running, and I was interviewed by a reporter, and she asked me, why did you choose to take the more dirty money of a for-profit business rather than being a nonprofit? Which, of course, had nothing to do with, with the impact that I was having. How the money was coming in actually was a better way to have an impact than to try to go find foundation money. So I'm just wondering, basically, what are the kind of terms that people use? What do you find? It sounds like you see this all the time. What do you find people are saying to you or to themselves that deal with this psychology of not feeling comfortable making money?
Yeah, it all comes down to I want financial sustainability for my enterprise. But then when you look closer, you realize, are you okay with the fact that you will have to, deal with money? And most people are uncomfortable with that. Or they choose business models that are actually conflicting for them. I will give an example. I had that conversation with a yoga person who was dealing with ex-prisoner, and she was teaching yoga to ex-prisoner, and it was having a huge impact. This was great. And the business model she chose is a subsidizing one, where basically she was teaching yoga on one side as a purely for-profit activity, and then on the other side was paying for the yoga classes. The problem was her sales were really down. Why? Because when she was trying to sell her for-profit yoga classes, she felt super salesy, and it was completely disconnected with what she really wanted to do, with the impact she wanted to have, and yeah, basically she came to me asking for marketing techniques to increase her sales. But when I look closer into her activity, I realized that the business model that she has chosen was the problem. Because when you're not like 100% into what you do to make the money you make in order to have your impact, then that's never, like, no marketing technique can fix that. And one of my advices to her was to maybe refine her business model and find a way to make an impact and money at the same time, either by doing classes where everybody pays, even the ex-prisoner, because at the end of the day, they might not also want charity, and they would maybe love to be mixed with other people. Something else that is really great is an inclusive business model where the ex-prisoner would be the teacher of the yoga class, and she would teach them to be yoga teachers. And so whenever she set up a workshop and try to find customer for that particular yoga class, it's just like so aligned with herself, with her values, with her goals, and with the impact she wants to have. She doesn't feel like she's selling her soul anymore, and so she can make the money and the impact that she wants. So one of the not techniques but methodology that I use when I consult with my clients is to find the alignment between who you are, what you want to do, what impact and money you want to generate in the process, and the more aligned you are, the easier or flawless it goes.
Yeah, it seems like aligning that impact with their belief systems and a business model they can live with. Because really, she had what some called BOGO, buy one, give one, right? And a buy one, give one in yoga doesn't really work because there's just not enough profit in any given yoga session. Most yoga teachers can barely survive, even if they're doing okay. But then to give away a whole bunch more, you just can't afford to do that. And I love the idea of turning the students into teachers, because that does go really along well with her model, with her belief systems. That's a great model. Okay, and then so what do we have? So a couple of the interesting ones here. So notice I get into marketing 11, 15, 17. Really, the marketing ones are the execution, it seems to me like. And numbers 13 and 16 is where these things come to where they kind of intersect. So I've got number 13 is intersecting beliefs and strategy. So that sounds fun. What is number 13? That seems like one that's going to be a big one. Do you strongly believe in the value it brings to those who will purchase it? Okay, so that's really about the belief systems that you have. So if you don't believe enough in the thing you're selling, you're going to have a big problem, it sounds like. Is that kind of where you're going with that? Where are you going with number 13 there? Do you strongly believe? If I was your customer and you came to me with that one, how would you expand on that? Do you strongly believe in the value of the offer? Oh, I don't have this on the screen. Sorry to the viewers. Get it? Come on. Where are we here? There it is. Yeah. Do you strongly believe? Oh, okay. I have it on the wrong screen, on the TV screen. Do you strongly believe in the value this offer brings to those who will purchase it? So can you expand on number 13 a little?
Yeah, sure. So basically, most social entrepreneurs, or at least with the definition I use, all the social entrepreneurs develop an offer, right? A product or a service that they sell in order to either serve their beneficiaries as clients or serve clients so that they can have an impact on their beneficiaries. And sometimes the problem that I see is that some people create an offer as an excuse to have an impact, but they don't really work on that offer, and they're not very authentic about it, and so it creates kind of a gap between like the potential clients and then the offer that you put together, because if you don't believe in the value that of what you offer, then you can't sell it, right? You can't translate that into your communication, and then you can't have enough customers to sustain your activity. So yeah, that's where I'm going with
Okay.
those set of questions.
All right. It kind of reminds me of a story. Actually, I was a co-founder brought into a company at very early stages that had some huge impact. But the initial guy behind it, he kind of found an opportunity that had a social impact. So the business started to grow, not because he had the belief system of caring about the impact, but because this need just sort of showed up. And within 2 years, I mean, I think the business still operates now, but it's no longer considered a social enterprise. And it went and kind of sold out and did some really terrible things, including stealing a bunch of money from me, unfortunately. But that's what happened there. Really, is the is the person initially behind it saw some ability to make some money on it, and as soon as it came to practically the first decision around balancing social impact with, wasn't even about pure profit at that point. It was about balancing social impact with some various relationships, and immediately it died, because he really didn't have the belief system in what was being sold there. So let's go again and look at the graphic. So we've got a whole bunch of marketing things: 11, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20. 11, 15, 17. Okay, so have you developed an offer? Yep, so this is kind of purely marketing stuff, right? This is about execution. Have you developed an offer? Have you, let's see, set a fair price? Really is kind of a marketing thing. Have you identified ideal clients? Purely marketing. Do your ideal clients know that you exist, right? So when in your process are you getting to these items? Do these come later, or how do you kind of put these things together for the early stage entrepreneur?
Yeah, about the ideal clients, for example, I see a lot of entrepreneurs that are not familiar with this marketing expression. I myself only discovered it after I became an entrepreneur. I had never heard about it in the corporate world. Anyways, and so they, find a business model. They know what they want to do, for who, how much, etc. They set up this offer. They create their product or service. And then they're like, whoever wants to buy can be my client. And that's like one of the worst marketing mistakes you can do, because if you're just talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. Right. And one of the first steps, if you want to have not need just one or two clients out of your network or word of mouth, but really consistent clients, is to identify the ideal clients that you're going to deal with, and then talk to them, and then only. So there are many different things that needs to be done in that, and I'm sure we would need a full other interview
of course.
on that very topic. But yeah, the idea behind this question is making sure that you're not just talking to everyone and saying, yeah, whoever can be my client, but really being specific and strategic about that.
Right. So you must, I'm gathering from some of this and from some of the things that we're talking about here, you must work with very early stage people, right? Do most of the people you work with either already have day jobs, or maybe they're re-entering the job market?
No one is re-entering the job market, but basically, yeah, I deal with people who are either quitting their job or they did already quit, and they're in the early stages of building their business together. Now I'm starting, because it's been 2 years, and because I have myself reached different goals, I help clients that are a little bit more advanced. Meaning they have already started their business, they have the website, they offer few paying clients, but that's it, and they want it to be financially sustainable. So this is when they come to me. Okay,
that must be we're a little sidetrack here, but that must be pretty tough. In the business accelerator I'm working in, we have most of those people are already doing a business, and now it's about how do we make them do more business. It's much easier to take someone from $5,000 or $10,000 a month to $20,000 a month or $30,000 a month than it is to take someone from $0 to $5,000 a month, or from maybe $2,000 a month, which is unsustainable, up to $10,000. Like, those are much tougher. That must be really frustrating. Do you find that it's sometimes, no matter what you do, you can't get people over those humps because of this belief system issue?
I don't know. I don't think of it that way. I sure know that it's not the niche that a traditional mentor coach would have chosen or advised me to choose. But this is where I feel I'm the most useful. So you see, as social entrepreneurs, we don't always go for the easy, low-hanging fruits, but we try to find where we can have the most impact. And yeah, this is why I chose to do that work. And I don't find it frustrating at all. It's actually super rewarding because people come to me when they start. They have, for some of them, zero idea what they want to do, and in 6 months' time, not only they have their business model, their validation, their website, their first client, and their first money in. And that's just a huge, huge transformation curve. And I love what I do. I would
Yeah,
never change for,
that
you know.
that that must be that must be a giant leap for those people, for them to go through that in 6 months, to go from an idea to
Yeah.
paying clients in 6 months, and even if they're not making a profit yet, if they're seeing a path, that's a huge thing. So I can see how that would be. I can see how that's. I can tell just seeing you talk about it and seeing your face when you talk about it, that really is your journey, right? About that's how that's clearly what gives you the satisfaction is working with those people. So that's really cool. Um, Anything else that you want to talk about on this? I'm feeling like we've covered a lot. We've kind of gotten into the psychology. We've gotten into the personal needs of how much money do you need. Anything else you're feeling like is important that we haven't really gotten to yet?
Maybe one last piece of content or advice. I'm not sure this reflects into one of the questions I listed, but basically, one thing that I find super helpful in entrepreneurship in general and in the financial sustainability side of things as well is to think in terms of stages or steps and what you need to do and the actions you need to take at a certain step are not the same at another one. Meaning, if you have never had a first paying client, the actions and strategies that you need to focus on are not the same as the ones when you have few paying clients and you need a regular income and etc. So depending on your stage, the actions you need to take and the strategies you need to put in place are very different. And so it's super important to understand where you are at and what's the next milestone, because as entrepreneurs we are very good at seeing the big picture and willing to be there already, and we are quite impatient people, or at least the ones they surround me or that I deal with on a daily basis are like that. And having the vision, the big picture thing is great. The motivation to go there, no matter the ups and downs, is also instrumental. But then identify where you are at and what's the next big milestone, and only focus on that. For example, we talked at the very beginning of the conversation about accounting systems and are all the numbers super clear. That's very important from the beginning, but you don't need to have that super complicated accounting software or to hire an accountant from the beginning. I mean, that's definitely not something adapted to the very early stages. And same if you are at a later stage and you are still doing your accounting yourself, that's like definitely something you need to change. So you see, depending on where you are at, the strategies and actions are just completely different. And yeah, so identifying where you are is maybe one last piece of advice that I would give to your viewers.
Actually, the overarching theme that I'm hearing really from you is focus. And so focus is sort of the key. And then the next thing you're saying is focusing on the right thing at the right time.
Yeah.
Would that be a good way to think of it? And having had many failed enterprises myself, I can say every time I'm focusing on the wrong thing usually. And And, it looks so big and complicated, but when someone like you can take them and say, okay, today, only focus on getting your first client, right? Because the question that we had in your 23 questions about how much does it take, how much money does it cost you for every new client, that's an important question, but you might not really know the answer with your first client. It might take you 10 clients to get there. So it's a good thing to have in the back of your head, but maybe on day one, your focus is just get your first client. And maybe it's not till 3 weeks later that having focus is still important, but now your focus isn't getting your first client. Now your focus is how much does it cost me to efficiently get every additional client? So
Exactly.
focus. All right, Solene, this is great. I just can't tell you how much I appreciate what we've been doing here. It's been super helpful for me. These are things, even though I've been doing this for a long time, and I coach other people in some similar concepts. You never can stop hearing the basics, especially that hyper focus in the beginning. So I just can't thank you enough. How can people reach you again?
Yes, so my website is creatorsforgood.com. That's one way to get to know my work. And then maybe something that can be super helpful for your community is on the website. It's actually at the end of the blog post itself and on the main page as well. There is this 10-day email course that I have created that is all about defining your own financially sustainable business model, because that's one of the big pieces to reach financial sustainability. And I designed it so that it's helpful both for the people who have no clue, no idea, or too many ideas, and want to trim down and really get started and focus on that piece, which is the business model, but also people who are further down the line and don't see the results that they were hoping for with their business and want to kind of rethink the model and go on better basis. So yeah, that's something that I have designed. It's free. It's 10 days long. It's super focused, and I'm sure it can be very helpful and impactful for your viewers.
Okay. Do you have a YouTube channel? Because I know I initially found you on how I learned of you, however long ago it was quite some time ago actually. Was actually through YouTube. I typed social entrepreneur into YouTube, and you were one of the first people that came up. Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I have a YouTube channel, a Facebook page,
Okay.
a Twitter account that is not very lively.
Okay.
But yeah, those are some of the social media people can find me at as well.
Okay, but Creators for Good, that's kind of that's the primary place. That's your front door, as it were.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. And that's it for this session of Greater Good Entrepreneur, a great masterclass on making sure that you're actually monetizing your social enterprise and doing what you need to do to make the kind of money that needs to be made in order to have the impact that you want to have. We'll see you next time.